Hello, everyone. Starting momentarily. Looks like the connection is solid. So this will be the last installment on a series on jhanas, and next week I'll start something new. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Let's get started. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Okay, so let's get started. Today I'm going to wrap up the discussion of the jhanas. And what I did last week was talk about the 5 factors. This is the way the jhanas are usually presented, and it's a scheme that's found explicitly in the Visuddhimagga and the commentaries, but it's not so clear from the original suttas. So I want to talk about 2 texts from the sutta that detail the jhanas, and you can see that the idea of the 5 factors is implicit, but it's not spelled out. I'll begin with the shorter one. This is from the Digha Nikaya, the long discourses, and it's Maurice Welch translation. And in this sutta, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm starting with the wrong one. I wanted to start with the Majjhima Nikaya, Yanamoli translation. This is a Majjhima 43, and in this sutta, it's a short reference only to the first jhana, and in this, as for the first jhana, the 5 factors are here explicitly mentioned. Now, it's pretty short, so I'll read it out. Friend, what is the first jhana? Here, friend, quite secluded from sensual pleasure, secluded from unwholesome states, a bhikkhu enters upon and abides in first jhana, which is accompanied by applied and sustained thought, vitaka vichara, with rapture and pleasure born of seclusion. This is called the first jhana. How many factors does the first jhana have? The first jhana has 5 factors. There are applied thought, sustained thought, rapture, pleasure, and unification of mind. This is how the first jhana has 5 factors. How many factors are abandoned in first jhana, and how many factors are possessed? 5 factors are abandoned and 5 are possessed. Here, when a bhikkhu is entered upon first jhana, sensual desire is abandoned, ill will is abandoned, sloth and torpor are abandoned, restlessness and remorse are abandoned, and doubt is abandoned. And there occur applied thought, sustained thought, rapture, pleasure, unification of mind. This is how first jhana, 5 factors are abandoned and 5 are possessed. So we have here the 5 nivarna as the factors that are abandoned, the hindrances, and the 5 factors that are possessed, vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, and ekaggata. So it's all pretty clear. The one phrase that perhaps is of interest is it says that the first jhana is born of seclusion. Um, just checking here what the Pali is for that. Uh, see, I'm not finding it. Uh, I did copy out the cut and paste the Pali for this, but I'm not finding the phrase that I want, so I'm not going to waste any more time. But uh, born of seclusion is important because the seclusion from what? Someone's suggesting in the chat Vivekaja. That's the word I was looking for. I want to just confirm that, but somehow I'm not finding it. Never mind. Seclusion from what? Seclusion from, first of all, the five hindrances, but it's also seclusion from the sense level of consciousness, sense desire level of consciousness. So that's important, and we'll see that this idea of the factors from which a jhana is born are expanded upon in the longer text. It's perhaps of more general interest. It's in the Digha Nikaya, and it's in the Samanya Pala Sutta, Sutta 2 of the Digha Nikaya. It's the sutta delivered to Ajatasattu. So first of all, he talks about the abandonment. He's talking this is a section dealing with the entire path to nibbana, and in this section he's talking about abandoning the five hindrances, and he says when he knows that the five hindrances have left him, gladness arises in him. From gladness comes delight, and from delight in his mind his body is tranquilized, and with a tranquil body he feels joy, and with the joy his mind is concentrated. This is the same series of factors that we find in the Upanishad Sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya. That's Bhikkhu Bodhi translates as the transcendental dependent arising, showing the cause and effect stages leading from ordinary consciousness, which is summarized as dukkha, all the way up to liberation. And from dukkha there arises first faith. Faith is not mentioned here, but in the Upanishad Sutta, sada, faith, gives rise to gladness, delight. So that is pamoja to piti, and with piti, which is one of our jhana factors, the body is tranquilized. With a tranquilized body he feels joy, sukha, and his mind is concentrated, so samadhi arises. Okay? So this is the process of abandoning the five hindrances, or transcending the five hindrances, leads to naturally to cheerfulness in the mind, which gradually deepens and tranquilizes the body and mind, and allows the arising of samadhi, which is the key factor in jhana. Being thus detached from sense desires and detached from unwholesome states. So here it's explicit that we're detaching from the sense desire sphere, and from unwholesome states, akusala dhamma. They would be the other hindrances. He enters and remains in first jhana. which is with thinking and pondering. That's Maurice Walsh's translation for Vitakka Vichara. Born of detachment, again that phrase, filled with delight and joy, piti and sukha. And with this delight and joy, born of detachment, he so suffuses, drenches, fills, and irradiates his body. There is no spot in his entire body that is untouched by this delight and joy born of detachment. Then he gives the simile of a bath attendant making a ball of bath powder. He takes this bath powder and wets it and kneads it and squishes it and makes this is what they use for soap. It came in a powder form, and they mix it with water and make something more solid that they can rub on themselves. And just as this bath ball is drenched in inside and out, through and through with water, so the body of the meditator is suffused with piti. Then with the second jhana, with the subsiding of thinking and pondering, vitakka vichara, by gaining inner tranquility and oneness of mind, inner tranquility is ajatang upasama, and oneness of mind is not ekagata. There's a different word used here, but with much the same meaning. Ekodi bawang, having become singular, would be a literal translation. Having become singular, or having become a unity. So gaining inner tranquility and oneness of mind enters and remains in second jhana, which is without thinking and pondering, born of concentration, samadhija. So the first jhana was born of seclusion, and samadhi becomes evident in the mind, and then this samadhi becomes strong enough to tranquilize the mind further, allowing the subsiding of thought formation, and vitakka vichara. And the mind is now in second jhana. So this is important. The difference here. First jhana is born of seclusion. Second jhana is born of samadhi. And generally, I don't like the translation concentration for samadhi. Samadhi is a stillness or stability of mind, filled with delight and joy, piti and sukha. And this delight and joy, born of concentration, he so suffuses his body that no spot remains untouched. And the simile given here is a lake in the mountains from which little or no rain falls into it, and there's no rivers flowing into it, but it's constantly refreshed by an underground spring. So the lake is always full, and the water is clear and clean. Now this is interesting. We'll see that also with third jhana, the analogy has to do with water. So the first three jhanas, the analogy has to do with water, and the factor that's emphasized here is piti for first and second jhana. And in the first jhana, the difference is the water in a bath ball is not in motion. So in the analogy for the second jhana, the water is flowing up from below. So this, I think, implies the analogy from to such other spiritual traditions as Kundalini, that there's an energy moving through the body is part of the experience. The PT is uprushing. Then with the third jhana, and the third jhana description is interesting, and it seems to be perhaps a little different, at least in emphasis, from what we see in the commentarial tradition. It says, a monk with fading away of delight, that is piti, remains imperturbable. And the word imperturbable here is Maurice Walsh's translation for upekkha. Which is usually translated as equanimity. And perhaps we'll see, why he didn't want to use that. Upekkha precisely is what the Pali has, and Maurice Walsh translates that as imperturbable. Imperturbable is kind of a tongue twister word, but it means not swayed, not moved. Someone who's very calm and steady and doesn't get excited, which is one of the aspects of equanimity for sure. And perhaps the reason he didn't really want to use equanimity here is because equanimity is often, upekkha is often used in the context of the feelings, the Vedana, but the feeling tone of third jhana is really sukha, as a pleasant feeling. But upekkha can also be considered in a way of a sankhara as well as a Vedana. And in terms of a sankhara, it just means that the non-discrimination in the mind, that nothing disturbs the mind. The mind doesn't pick and choose, doesn't get pulled this way and that. So with the fading away of delight remains imperturbable, mindful and clearly aware. That's sati sampajana. So that's interesting. And this speaks against the idea of the jhanas as some kind of a trance state. Some of the old translations actually use trance for jhana. You'll see that in some of the old PTS translations, first, second, third, and fourth trance, which is really very misleading. One who's in third jhana has sati and sampajanya, has mindfulness. So one is fully awake. And so mindful and clearly aware, and experiences in himself that joy, that sukha, of which the noble ones say, happy is he who dwells with equanimity and mindfulness. So the noble ones are the Arya, that is enlightened beings. The formal definition of an Arya in the Buddhist discourses, someone who has at least stream entry. The 4 stages of enlightenment are the Aryas. So the noble ones say, happy is he who dwells with equanimity and mindfulness, with upekkha and sati. So this is, again, getting away from the idea of jhana as some kind of a zoned out trance state. One's fully mindful, but there's no thought formation, and in this third jhana, the mind is joyful. There's sukha, but there's equanimity in terms of non-discrimination between states. That the mind, whatever crosses to consciousness, the mind doesn't react to it. So there's no reactivity. And with that joy devoid of delight, sukha without vichara, sukha avichara, he so suffuses his body that no spot remains untouched. And here the analogy is, again, one without motion. And here the water, it's again a water analogy, and it's more all-pervading than the first two. The analogy is that of a lotus growing in the water, and the flower does not break the surface. So every part of the lotus plant, from the roots to the flower, is completely immersed in, suffused by the surrounding water. And the water here represents the sukha. So this points out the difference between the sukha and the piti. And piti is more energetic, there's more movement, whereas sukha is calm, equanimous happiness. Equanimous in the sense of a mental factor, not as a feeling tone. Finally, the fourth jhana, having given up pleasure and pain, and with the former disappearance of gladness and sadness, somanasa domanasa, enters and remains in fourth jhana, which is beyond pleasure and pain, purified by equanimity and mindfulness. And he sits suffusing his body with that mental purity and clarification, so that no part of his body is untouched by it. Well, an important phrase to note here is that purified by equanimity and mindfulness. I mentioned it in a previous talk that it's best to think of the progression through the jhanas as a simplification and a purification. We're purifying the mind as we go through, and the agent that purifies the mind all the way to fourth jhana is equanimity and mindfulness, sati and upekkha. And the feeling tone here is also equanimity. And it's in the Pali. It's actually used that the term that's translated here by Bhikkhu Bodhi, beyond pleasure and pain, is adukkama sukham, which is a word that's used elsewhere to represent the neutral feeling tone that is in other places called upekkha. So neither pleasure nor pain, adukkama sukham. And the analogy in the fourth jhana, the simile, is different than the others in that water is not involved. It's talking about a man sitting covered by a very fine, delicate white cloth that totally covers his head and body and leaves no part untouched. This is like the equanimity. So this is a dry state. It's not wet. And I think that the analogy of water is used for piti and sukha, but these are absent in fourth jhana. It's just an absolute calmness and peaceful equanimity. So you can see these, in summary, these descriptions of the jhanas are, one can imply the theme of the five factors, but it's not absolutely clear. The factor of one-pointedness is called ekodi bawang, not ekigata, and it's only mentioned in the formula for first jhana, but we can take it as implied throughout. We can see where the commentaries derived the formula of the five factors, but it's not explicit in this sutta description. What's absent from the commentaries is the mention of mindfulness as being present in the jhanas, at least in the short description of the five factors. Mindfulness is here mentioned as being present in the jhanas as a purifying factor. That the clarity, the consciousness is clean and pure, clean of the defilements. And the mindfulness is like elevates the mind to higher states of consciousness. So I'll leave it there. That was a look at how the Suttanta deals with the jhanas, which is a little bit different than the Tathagata and Abhidhamma. Okay, let's get into the questions here. Can there still be free will without identifying with mental formations? Are willful actions possible without it? Yeah, it doesn't require, the activation of Chaitanya does not require a self. All this discussion about free will, it seems like many of the certainly the whole Western discourse on the problem of free will versus determinism and is predicated on the idea of a self or an agent. And many of these questions that come from that seem to imply an assumed agent. When you analyze things in terms of not self, it's just mental factors, so a lot of these questions kind of dissolve as meaningless. Next question, how do you recommend doing breath meditation when you're having nerve-related head pain? I notice doing meditation, my symptoms seem to feel more intense and I get anxiety. You could try focusing your attention on the breath lower down in the body, such as at the abdomen. That's the usual, second point where it becomes, the breath is often observed. And that should take you away from the head, and you may find that you don't have that problem. I once heard that Anuruddha was using divine eye to check for sentient beings in water before drinking it. The Buddha said for him to filter water 3 times, and still there's sentient beings in the water. The Buddha said to him not to use the divine eye for checking water. It's Bhante remember what sutta that story is from. I don't remember precisely, but that sounds, I don't think that's in the sutta. I think that's from the Vinaya. It's probably in the Vinaya discussing the use of water filter. So I'm not sure, probably in the Churuvada, but I'm not sure. Brahm emphasized that piti is the way to insight, which comes from meditative ease on the breath. Is this your view? I'm not sure if it, I'm not sure without thinking about that. I don't think there's such a direct connection as that. Certainly the factor of piti leading to meditative ease, as you put it, would encourage the ability of the mind to develop insight, but as a precursor to insight. Yeah, I suppose that we could put it that way. Meditation made me aware of my past wrongdoings, and now I feel remorse and fear. Will it pass? It's interesting because I was indifferent to my unwholesome actions and felt no guilt before. I'm extremely afraid of the Queen Malika scenario. Despite living decently from now on, at the time of my death, I will think about not thinking bad things. And then I'll go to hell. Well, you can take some comfort in the fact that Queen Malika only went to hell for 7 days. We can also consider the case of Angulimala, who committed much worse crimes than Queen Malika, and he died as an arhat. Yeah, in this feeling of regret and remorse from past wrongdoing, you should try to forgive yourself for it and take some comfort from the teaching of not self. That this, try not to think, oh, I did this bad thing, but that at that time these bad things were done in this stream of consciousness, but that's not you at this moment. So it's not skillful to dwell on past mistakes and to cause yourself further suffering from it. Is it possible or likely to one to get stream entry without going to full jhana to see some of the insights deeply? That is a question that has some controversy around it. How much jhana is necessary for stream entry? According to Abhidhamma, there's no Maggaphala without jhana. And certainly the Buddha in his teachings emphasized jhana a lot. And it will be remembered that on his enlightenment night, or prior to his enlightenment night, when he decided to abandon the path of extreme asceticism, he recalled going spontaneously into first jhana as a boy, and he thought that state of mind is the one conducive to what I'm trying to achieve. Now there's also on the other side of the equation, there is a mention or two in the suttas of, without any elaboration or explanation, there is mention of a bare insight path, which has been elaborated in the Burmese tradition. The Vipassana tradition de-emphasizes the necessity for jhana. And I know from the writings of Mahasi Sayadaw, he says that when one attains to stream entry, there will be, even if one hasn't practiced jhana meditation previously, there will be at least one my moment of full jhana before stream entry. But I think that the short takeaway is the more you practice samadhi, the better your insight will be, and the more likely you will to attain to stream entry. What is the most efficient way to create a lot of merit in everyday life without doing anything spectacular? I think small acts of kindness and generosity. When we encounter other beings, always try and be kind and do something helpful. And generosity doesn't always mean just giving people material goods or money. Doing them a favor, helping them out. Never overlook an opportunity to make merit in small ways like that. Is it written anywhere in the Vinaya that a teacher or preceptor can hit or yell at their students from simple mistakes? Definitely not hit them. That would be a Vinaya offense for one monk to strike another, whether he's teacher or not. Yell and shout, no, I don't think that's nowhere recommended. I don't but I don't think it's actually forbidden by any opinion rule that comes to mind. Should I radio metta to ghosts too? I don't want to attract them. During metta, I suddenly smelled scent of wood or forest despite being in the city. I got spooked and stopped. You shouldn't, in general, extend metta to beings in the ghost realm. For that reason, that they're attracted to it. This it particularly applies to specific beings. Like if you think your grandmother's a ghost, then you would send metta to her. But if you're doing general pervasion and sending metta to all beings, you don't exclude ghosts, but you don't focus on them. There are two classes of beings that are said in the Visuddhimagga. It's recommended not to do specific metta to them. One is ghosts for that reason. The other are beings of human beings of an age and a gender that might cause you sexual attraction. You want to avoid that metta turning into lust. If devas have developed good qualities, do they have compassion and intercede in the life of humans? Yeah, they do. Sometimes there are stories about that in the Suttas about the devas sometimes being helpful, and sometimes they're mischievous. They're never really malevolent. Is it possible they have more interest in some humans than others due to past connection? Yes, that's very specifically occurs in some stories. There's a story, for example, about some monks, and one of them got as high as Anagami, is reborn in the Pure Land abodes, and he saw, his companion was still alive on Earth, was struggling, so he came and gave him some advice and helped him. When I meditate, I often recall distant memories, old dreams, or thoughts. Is it normal, or do I have some special talent? No, it's quite normal. There's nothing unusual about that. But images and details will pop up from the memory banks. That's very common. Does it mean it'll be easier for me to recall past lives? No, not really. Is Morko a Finnish word? No, it's. I'll reveal the name of my cat. Morko is Quenya, Tolkien's Elvish language. It means bear because he looks like a bear. He's kind of stocky and furry. How can I join this group? Well, I just there's no formalities to joining this group. But if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll get a notification when the talk comes up. The regular time for the talk is Thursday evenings at 6 o'clock Eastern time. If stream entry manga removes identity with khandhas, why is it considered to be an unconscious experience? It's because nothing is perceived. I don't know where you get that it's unconscious experience. It's not unconscious. It's very definitely something that impinges on consciousness. Okay, so there's one more here, and I think maybe we'll call it after that. Do devas experience day and night? How do arahants release their life faculties? Someone asked about the Sutta reference. Yes, it was Digha Nikaya 2. Yes. Do the devas experience day and night? Yeah, they do, but not in the same way as we do. A day in the Deva realm. So depending on the particular Deva realm, it's always very much longer in terms of hundreds or thousands of years for a day and a night. For the higher Deva realms, there wouldn't be a difference of daylight, but in the realm of the four great kings, they live on the middle slopes of Sinaroo, so they would have a period of darkness every rotation of the sun. Okay, so I think we'll leave that. And how do arahants release their life faculties? It's kind of a yogic skill. I'm told that advanced Hatha yoga practitioners can do that as well. It's control of the faculty, the life faculty, the jiva indriya becomes under conscious control, and one can release it. Okay, so I'll leave you there, and we'll be doing something different next week.